It's very rare that something happens like this within the gaming culture, but if it was going to happen with anybody, it would be Gajin. If anyone is unaware, Gajin are a company that have published titles such as War Thunder in the past, a very well-known and very popular World War II fighter jet simulator. Okay, there are tanks and warships, but especially the warships, we don't really think about them. However, this company is well known for its microtransactions and, in some other words, some shady practices. But when Enlisted came out in 2021 in its early access version, people were kind of excited because a World War II shooter that was free to play, it was kind of alongside the Postscriptum and the Hell Let Loose hype, and people really enjoyed it. I played a lot of Enlisted, and actually this new squad-based game mode, whilst it wasn't perfect, was actually kind of like interesting. Having set AI that you could command around, go into different points, but instead of just being on your own now, each player has their own squad, that when they die, they can pick up the role of each of these other individuals, or you can just order your AI squad in order to hold positions or attack on certain places. So it was great. Okay, Enlisted, fairly popular, decent reviews, and it was free to play. It was not on Steam until recently. You see, Enlisted Reinforced has been put on Steam and then almost instantly taken back down. PC Games put out an article saying, huge free multiplayer shooter pulled from Steam after pricing outrage. So Enlisted has just been taken off the Steam store page because of, well, something that Gajin has been up to in the background. Enlisted finally arrived on Steam on Thursday, March 28th. Less than a week later, however, it was pulled from sale indefinitely following widespread criticism of its pricing structure and premium availability. In essence, the free-to-play game that Enlisted has always been, granted it's on its own launcher, so you've had to download it elsewhere on the internet, was now put onto Steam for $19.99. Yes, $20 for a free-to-play game. Okay, granted, it did provide a DLC and some bonus material, but there was no other way of playing Enlisted on Steam other than purchasing this pack. Meaning that they'd taken a free-to-play game, put pretty much exactly the same thing on the Steam page, and started charging $20 for it. As you can tell, people were not just angry, but Valve was pretty suspicious of what was going on here, hence it being taken down while they sort their shit out. They called it Enlisted Reinforced, and saying it was an expanded version of the World War II FPS game is not exactly accurate. The actual game itself is almost identical. Okay, there are a few new DLCs and things that you can purchase, but they were things that you could get anyway in Enlisted, at least the free-to-play game. So putting it on Steam and charging for it is just that. It isn't anything extra. Don't be fooled by the different name. This isn't a new game, but I think it was Gajin, the publishers, that actually wanted you to think that this was something completely different. To think that, oh, I've already played the free-to-play version, maybe I can purchase this and get something a little bit more from it. That was definitely not the case. In a news statement, the developer and publisher of Enlisted say they are deeply sorry. We see that many of you are dissatisfied with the early access version that we made available on Steam. Some of you are not happy that the game was bundled with a paid DLC on Steam. Some of you couldn't link your existing Gajin.net account, that's another issue, to the Steam version due to technical issues. Essentially, if you wanted to play it on Steam, you'd have to purchase $20. And that will completely reset you. You wouldn't be able to link your past free-to-play Gajin account because of technical issues. I guess it was intended for them to do that, but I don't know. Seeing the way that Gajin have been going, I wouldn't be surprised, and this is completely speculative, if they just wanted you to restart again anyway, so that you'd have to go through the entire progression. And don't get me wrong, the progression in Enlisted is pretty fun. It's a pretty good game, the mechanics are solid, but it is grindy as hell, and it is microtransaction haven, because, well, why would Gajin post a game that isn't microtransaction heavy? This has absolutely slated the game on the Steam page. I mean, looking at it now, it's gone mixed reviews, and not even that, it only has 197 reviews, which, for a title that was as popular as it was, is pathetic. I mean, this was one of the biggest World War II FPS games when it came out. Okay, granted, it was free to play, but it was also a good, fun game, and it had a lot of support, a lot of updates coming out, and a fan base that were actually kind of interested in it. Now, it kind of just whimpered its way onto Steam, trying to disguise itself as a new title with more DLC and more content, but really just being exactly the same thing. They've even put a note on their early access game. Now, once again, you cannot buy this on Steam anyway, but they have said, we've suspended the early access version of Enlisted Reinforced on the Steam store for now. All users who purchase the early access pack will be able to continue playing the game via Steam. Meanwhile, we'll do our best to assess what we can do to address the issues raised. They've said that the full version is planned to be different to this early access version, each adding new squads, weapons, military vehicles, maps, and gameplay features, but that was something that they were doing anyway. The free-to-play version of Enlisted was still getting updates, still getting new maps, still getting new weapons, and it was all free within that title. I think they've just decided that they don't want to do it for free anymore, that microtransactions was just not the way to go, thus making it a paid game on Steam. Now, I think it is an important note that Darkflow Software, who are the developers, are probably not to blame for this. It looks like the publisher, Gajin, are more likely to be on that because they are the ones that work the financials. They're the ones that tell development companies where they want to be charging for them, when release dates need to be pushed forward, and, well, essentially where you release the games. They do all the business behind the scenes. And I wouldn't be surprised, as Gajin have a history of doing scummy business practices for more money that tend to screw over players. I mean, War Thunder is the perfect example. A fantastic game, unique unlike anything else. It has thousands of planes, complete progression systems for every single country, simulating this World War II battlefield, yet they've ruined it by a horrific grind, a horrific balancing system, and microtransactions that mean it's pretty much unplayable if you want to have any sort of squad-based gameplay with any friends, because you're going to be fighting in your shitty little Spitfires while they have Typhoon jets later on in the game because they've paid for a few crowns. And because of the balancing, it's almost inevitable at some point you're going to be brushing up against these really heavy-handed microtransactions throughout your gameplay. And I'm all for free-to-play games making some money here or there with cosmetics, whatever, if the game's charged for free. Even some sort of progression-based system with microtransactions isn't the end of the world. But if it's impossible to have fun, if it's impossible to want to continue progression by just playing the game as it was initially released, i.e. for free, then you've not made a good game. What you've made is an enticing cash shot for people to come in and then taken money in order for them to continue playing. But let's have a little look at the response from the community because it is classic. So some of these reviews on Steam are talking about fraud. Whether it is fraud, I don't exactly know. It's a free-to-play title that was released bundled with a DLC pack. This is a common practice to attempt to prevent you from getting a refund once you pay for the title. But this is free to play. This was entirely for the point that they didn't want people to realize that this full game was free to play elsewhere and they wanted you to accidentally purchase it on Steam. It's not a good idea for a fan base. I paid $20 not even to have the option to link my Gajin account. If you're going to rob me, at least do the main thing right. And I think that's the main issue with this, because Enlisted isn't a bad game. It's something that I've played countless times on this channel and my other channels, and I actually really love the mechanics. I think the gunplay is very, very good. I think the actual factions, and especially adding in the Japanese factions and the maps that go around that, is a really nice idea. The AI and the squad-based system is unique. It doesn't work perfectly, but it is a lot of fun. I still kind of prefer the lone soldier game modes, but having this combined warfare of being able to fly in planes or in tanks or even on infantry and taking over these certain points is great. And for a free-to-play game, it really does rub shoulders with the likes of Hell Let Loose. But then taking that free-to-play version, putting it on Steam, charging $20 and saying, because there's probably a bit more content coming in a later date, isn't acceptable. And this is why the fans are angry. This is why Enlisted has made a huge error. Hopefully they can change it. Hopefully Gajin can make a turnaround here, and because it's been taken down on Steam, they're going to have a little bit of time to work out what the next step forward is. But at this point in time, Gajin, you seem to really be on brand.